Hello guys, how's it going? Screezilla here, I hope you're all well. Now, I'm going to do a bit of a quick video today. Well, I say quick, it's probably going to last forever with me. I'm going to ramble on about God knows what. But what I wanted to talk about is this diagram here. Now, as you can see, this is a diagram of a Wellington, and I think it's a Hellcat, not Hellcat, something or other. A dive bomber and an altitude bomber. And what this is showing is the difference between altitude bombing and dive bombing, and mainly how the bombs react. Now, dive bombing, you have to be pretty good to get it, but it's a lot easier to hit a target dive bombing than it is at altitude bombing. Now, when I say a target, I do mean a stationary target, and a small stationary target at that. So, we'll hop back here. Now we're at Mozdok, and there's lots of machine gun nests here. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and hit one of the nests. Now, we'll look for a target, and we'll try and spot somebody. I think there's some tanks down there or some artillery. So we're going to throttle back, open up our air brakes, and go into a steep dive here. Now we're going into an extremely steep dive. So what we want to do is we want to hit this tank. So it looks like a tank from here. So we're going to go into a very steep dive, and we're going to drop, and we're going to air brake up, and we're going to throttle up, and as you can see, our bomb was pretty much on target there, just shy of the tank. Now with dive bombing, you have a better chance of hitting your targets, of course, over conventional bombing, and that's the big thing. So we're going to have a quick flyover, and just to show you that position there. So, although we didn't destroy the tank, because, you know, War Thunder, you can see that we did some serious shocking there. Like, it was nice and close. And with dive bombing, it gives you that chance to actually get close to your target. Now let's hop out here and jump into a conventional altitude bomber. So we're going to jump into the B-17. So again, we're going to be using the 2,000 pound bombs here. The difference between a dive bomber and a conventional bomber is the conventional bombers can carry a higher mass of bombs. Oh wait, we don't want to go on an airfield. Why does it keep doing this to me? One of the big differences, as I say, is conventional bombers carry a higher load. The other thing is conventional bombers don't have to be strengthened as much. Dive bombers need to be very heavy because they have to be strengthened in the wing department, and this causes a lot of problems, mainly because they can't carry as much bomb capacity. Now the B-17 is not one of the heaviest capacity bombers out there, simply because it's armed to the teeth with many guns, but you still get double the amount of a dive bomber. The other thing is you sit a lot higher up. Now, the idea for this is you're avoiding flak. The problem with this, though, is you're so high up, it's very hard to identify targets. So, we're going to try and go for a tank again. But, can you see a tank here? Not really, can you? It's very tricky to see a target. This is the big flaw of altitude bombing. That looks like a crater there, so we're going to try and drop on that crater. So, bomb out, and we'll see how this goes. So again, we're using a 2,000 pound bomb. Now, with altitude bombing, you have things like wind speed, wind direction, turbulence. Also, the bomb itself can change direction a little bit depending on how it drops. Now, with the American bombs, with the Finns, they tend to be pretty stable with their drop rate because they go down, get a nice little spin on them, and go pretty straight. Now, as you see, we've managed to get very close to our target there. Now, that's a really good show of the accuracy of an altitude bomber. But the big difference is I was dropping blind there, and the only reason I knew where that tank was because I could see the crater. If I didn't have a marker there, I would have no idea where to drop, and that becomes very tricky, and one of the problems with altitude bombing over dive bombing. Now, the big difference for altitude and dive bombing is when it comes to stationary targets and large targets. A bomber formation of altitude bombers is going to have a much more effective role taking out a airfield or a factory or a town or anything like that over a dive bomber, simply because they have more bombs and they can decimate a larger area. But for pinpoint accuracy, you need to use dive bombers, and that's the big difference between the two techniques. So we're going to come over here, and there's a base underneath us, so we're going to level up. We're going to switch to our view. Now the B-17 has one of the most accurate bomb sights there is. In game it doesn't really matter, but in real life they were one of the most accurate bomb sights. And the British and Americans were very good at altitude bombing, whereas the Germans took the role of dive bombing. They believed it was more accurate to dive bomb, and it was absolutely more accurate. But the capacity of a dive bomber is much less than a altitude bomber, and that was one of the big problems. Although altitude bombing can be accurate, it is very hard to be accurate. You don't get as much problem in War Thunder because there aren't as many physics involved. For instance, there's no wind direction, things like that throw off your bombs. It would be fantastic if they added it, but there is none. The big thing though is for moving targets. So when you're playing ground battles, dive bombing and of course rockets become your bread and butter. You're going to have a much better chance of hitting a target with a dive bomber than you are going to have flying a B-17 at 15,000 feet trying to hit a small moving tank. So, which is better? Well, it all depends what you're doing, and that's the big thing with dive bombing over conventional bombing. If you're bombing a stationary target, conventional bombing is probably the best option. If you need to hit a moving target, a small target, or a tricky to see target, so a small target from a high from, like for example, like a machine gun nest, then you're going to have a better chance with dive bombing, of course. Now we're going to drop on some of the machine gun nests down here. We're going to drop both our bombs. Somehow we've got 3 bombs. Don't ask me how, considering we only carried 2. Question there. It's an interesting bug. I've never seen that one before. But yeah, the difference is the accuracy, as I say. So, for say tank battles, you're better off with a dive bomber. But for attacking multiple targets on the ground, or a large area, you're better off with altitude bombers. But if you're attacking a small target, again, dive bombers are your best option. Okay guys, I hope you found this video interesting. Please like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you thought about it. I'd love to hear your feedback. Okay guys, thank you so much and have a lovely day. I'll catch you again soon. This is Screezilla out. Bye bye.